I never meant to show her that photo. It was an accident in the most ordinary way, the kind of moment that only makes sense in hindsight, when you replay a scene over and over and realize this was the second your entire life pivoted on a silent axis. We were sitting in a small cafe near the edge of the river, the kind of place where the chairs are a little uncomfortable but the coffee is honest, and the windows always hold the reflection of a world that feels slightly softer than the one outside. The city was busy, restless, living its usual life, but inside that cafe, time moved differently, like it respected memory more than the present. Her name was Lila. At least, that is the name she gave me. She had been coming to that cafe at the same time every Thursday afternoon for the past 3 weeks. I had noticed her the first day not because she was loud or trying to be seen, but because she had the kind of quiet that made the air around her feel heavier. She always chose the same table by the window. She always ordered the same tea. She always stared out at the water as if she were trying to remember something the river had stolen. I didn't believe in signs or fate or destiny. I believed in logic, in patterns, in numbers that made sense. I worked in digital design, built my life around structure, deadlines, and predictability. My world had become a careful grid of responsibilities, routines, and rules. Emotion was something I had trained myself to handle like a file on a computer, open if absolutely necessary, close as fast as possible. Especially after Emma. My fiancée. Even calling her that felt strange now, like a word from another life. Emma had been everything bright and alive in me, until the day she simply wasn't there anymore. Since then, I didn't speak about her much. I kept her in a small, protected space inside me, a locked room where photographs still lived and music from another time still played softly in the background. Lila didn't know any of this. She just smiled at me the first time I made the mistake of holding her gaze for too long. There was something in her eyes that felt inexplicably familiar. Not in a romantic way. Not in a memory way. In a way that felt deeper, older, like I had known her in a life I couldn't quite recall. "You always sit here alone," she said that first day. Her voice was soft but certain. "Is that a choice or a habit?" "Sometimes they are the same," I replied. She smiled gently, a smile that held sadness in one corner, like a story it wasn't ready to tell. "Do you mind if I join you next time?" I should have said no. Or made a joke. Or avoided the question altogether. But instead, I said, "Not at all." And that was how it started. For 3 Thursdays, we sat together, spoke about meaningless things that somehow felt meaningful. Music. Old movies. Places that felt like home even when they weren't. People we missed without saying their names. There was an invisible line between us, and yet it grew thinner each time we spoke. On the 4th Thursday, she asked the one question I had been secretly waiting for and secretly terrified of. "Do you ever miss someone so much," she said, looking into her tea as if the answer might float there, "that sometimes you feel like you're still living 2 lives?" I froze. The air in the cafe shifted, like the world had noticed that a door inside me had just creaked open. "Yes," I said. "Every single day." Silence settled between us, heavy but not uncomfortable. Almost sacred. And then my phone rang. I glanced down at the screen, but didn't answer it. In the movement, the screen shifted, and the photo that had lived there for years, the one I never changed, the one that almost no one ever saw, suddenly reflected the light of the open window. Lila's eyes dropped to it for just half a second. And then her body went completely still. It was as if all the warmth had been drained out of her in one breath. My heart stuttered. "You okay?" I asked. She didn't answer. She just stared at the screen. At the photo. At Emma. The girl who had once promised to spend forever beside me. "The girl in the photo," I said slowly, the old words forming from a place that still ached, "is my fiancée." Lila's lips parted just slightly. Her hands trembled. A long silence passed. And then, in a voice so soft I almost didn't hear it, she said, "I miss her very much." The world tilted. My chest tightened like someone had reached inside and curled a fist around my heart. "You, miss her?" I repeated. "You knew her?" Her eyes met mine, and in them was something that no stranger should ever hold. Grief. Love. Memory. "I knew her in a way you wouldn't understand," she said. "Try me," I whispered. She swallowed, as if holding back a flood that had been waiting to break through a fragile wall. "She used to sit right here," she said, touching the edge of the table with her fingertips. "In that exact chair. She would tap her fingers twice when she was nervous. She always ordered the sweet tea first, then changed her mind and asked for coffee. She was afraid of thunderstorms, but she loved the sound of rain on windows." Every detail landed like a hammer inside me. Because every detail was true. I hadn't told anyone those things. No one but Emma had known her little habits that way. "How do you know that?" My voice almost broke. Lila's eyes glistened, though she didn't cry. "Because I was with her more than you think." "What?" Confusion twisted inside my thoughts. "I don't mean romantically," she said quickly. "Not in that way. I mean, I was there. During the moments when the rest of the world wasn't. My hands were cold. My heart felt like it had forgotten how to beat properly." "That doesn't make any sense," I murmured. She took a shaky breath. "I never meant for you to find out like this." "Find out what?" I asked. "That she never really left you," Lila said. Outside the cafe, the river continued to flow as if nothing in the universe had changed. People laughed. Birds flew. Life went on. But inside me, everything I believed about reality, about time, about loss, cracked open. "How could you possibly miss her?" I asked quietly, "unless you were part of her life?" She looked away, then back again, as if deciding whether truth was more dangerous than silence. And then she said the impossible. "I miss her," she whispered, because I was the last person she spoke to. The sound of my own breathing felt unreal in my ears. The last person? My hands tightened into fists. "Emma died alone." "No," Lila said, shaking her head. "She didn't." My stomach dropped. "Then where were you?" I demanded. Her answer was barely a breath, but it echoed louder than any scream. "I was there, in the moment she stopped being here. And I've been waiting for you ever since." "I was there, in the moment she stopped being here. And I've been waiting for you ever since." Her words hung between us like mist over cold water. I stared at her as if the truth might suddenly reveal itself as a joke, as a misunderstanding, as anything other than what she had just said. But her face carried none of that. There was no hint of satisfaction. No drama. No attempt at manipulation. Only a quiet gravity, the kind of weight carried by people who have seen things that don't fit into normal life. "You're telling me," I said slowly, "that you were with Emma when she died?" "Yes." "And you think that's just something you casually mentioned to me over tea?" My voice tightened around the edges. "I didn't plan for you to see the photo," she said. "I didn't plan to say anything at all. I promised myself I wouldn't." "Then why did you?" I asked. "Why say anything now?" "Because she would have wanted it this way." My throat went dry. "You didn't know what she wanted." A ghost of a smile appeared on her lips. "Didn't I?" The cafe felt smaller, the walls drawn closer. Every face around us had blurred away. It felt like the world had folded in on itself, leaving just the two of us suspended in an invisible space between past and present. "Tell me," I said. "Every detail. From the beginning." She nodded slowly, as if she had already walked through this memory 1,000 times. "It happened months before you even got the call," she began. Before she disappeared. Before the silence. Before the pain settled into your bones. My chest tightened. She knew, Lila continued. She knew something was coming. Not in a dramatic way. In a quiet, instinctive way. Like the body knows winter before the leaves fall. That's impossible, I whispered. She never said anything to me. She didn't want to scare you, Lila said. You were already holding too much of the world on your shoulders. So she carried it alone. The guilt that surged in me was sharp enough to make me close my eyes. She started coming to me, Lila continued, her voice soft, steady. I don't know how it started. One moment I was just a stranger passing through other people's days. And the next, I was someone she trusted with the pieces she didn't want to break you with. How did you even meet? I asked. At first, we didn't, Lila said. Not in the physical sense. She spoke to me in dreams. In reflections. In the space between waking and forgetting. I would see her sitting on the edge of my bed as if she had always been there. We would sit together in silence until words formed. My skin prickled. It sounded insane. And yet, a part of me, the quietest, deepest part, believed her. She told me about you, Lila went on. She told me how you laughed when you tried to be serious. How you always gave more than you realized. How you were terrified of being abandoned but too proud to say it. My eyes snapped open. Emma had once said the same thing to me. Word for word. A chill slid down my spine. She said you would survive, Lila whispered. But she said you would never truly live again unless you found the truth that she buried in time. The truth about what? I asked. She didn't die the way you were told. My heart slammed brutally inside my chest. The police said it was an accident, I muttered, though even saying it now felt like reading someone else's story. A collision. No witnesses. That's what they saw from the outside, Lila said. But inside that final moment, inside the last second her soul clung to this world, she wasn't thinking about an accident. She was thinking about you, I whispered. Lila nodded. She said your name with her final breath. But it wasn't goodbye. It was a message. Every muscle in my body carried tension now, like a string pulled too tight. What message? I demanded gently. Her gaze locked onto mine as if the answer had been carved there long before either of us spoke. He must remember who he is. The sound of those words seemed to pierce the air around us. Who I am. I repeated. What does that even mean? She never explained the full meaning to me, Lila said. She only said that you had forgotten the most important part of yourself. And that, somehow, her leaving was connected to your remembering. Suddenly my memories came rushing in, fragments I had locked away. Dreams of standing at the edge of oceans I had never visited. The feeling of knowing someone I had never met. Moments when I looked into the mirror and did not recognize the life looking back at me. I don't understand any of this, I admitted. You will, she said. Why you? I asked. Why did she choose you to tell all of this? Lila looked down at her hands, then back up again slowly, as if she had reached the point she had been most afraid to say out loud. Because I am not just someone she met, she said. And I am not just someone you met. Then who are you? I whispered. Her jaw trembled for the first time. I am part of what she became when she left this world, Lila said. And part of what you will become when the truth finally reaches you. My entire body went cold. You're saying you're, what? A memory? A spirit? A fragment of her? She shook her head. No. I am the version of her that survived in another form, and the version of you that has not yet awakened. Silence devoured the space between us. You're not making sense, I said, though I was no longer sure if I wanted sense or madness. Do you believe in parallel lives? She asked calmly. Of in-between places where time folds over itself? I didn't, I replied. And now? I looked at her. At her eyes. At the same tiny dimple that Emma had when she almost smiled. At the same faint scar on her hand that Emma had gotten when she was a child. My heart shattered and healed all at once. I don't know what I believe anymore, I said. That's the beginning, Lila answered. A sudden realization began to surface in my mind, terrifying and beautiful. Is that why you kept coming here? I asked. Is that why you chose this cafe? Yes, she said. Because it is where your life with her almost began, and where your life with the truth must begin again. What truth? I asked. That Emma never left you, Lila said gently. She changed. She moved through time differently. And you were meant to cross her path again, in a new form. My heart raced. You're saying, you're her. I am not exactly her, Lila said. But I carry the part of her that loved you most. And what am I to you? I whispered. This time, she didn't look away. You are the reason I exist at all, she said. Outside, the sky darkened, as if the day had quietly surrendered. Inside, something far older and deeper than logic began to rise within me. Then why do I feel like I have already lost you? I asked. Lila's lips trembled. Because, she said softly, you already have. My blood ran cold. What do you mean? She slowly reached into her pocket and pulled something out, placing it gently on the table between us. A silver necklace. Emma's necklace. The same one I had buried with her. I wasn't supposed to give this to you yet, she said. But time is collapsing faster than I thought. My hands hovered over it, too afraid to touch what could not possibly be real. How do you have that? I whispered. Because your story, Lila answered, didn't end the day she died. It simply split into another path. Every breath I took felt like walking deeper into a dream I couldn't wake from. What happens now? I asked. Her voice softened into something like mourning. Now, she said, you must choose whether you want the old reality back, or the truth that will destroy it forever. I looked at the necklace. Then at her. And in that moment, I realized the most terrifying thing of all. It wasn't the past that was haunting me. It was the future. And part of me already knew. Whatever choice I made, would never be the same again. The necklace lay on the table like a forbidden memory brought back from the dead. For a long moment, neither of us touched it. We just stared, two people bound by a story that had never been meant to exist in the same timeline. That was buried with her, I said quietly. I put it there myself. I know, Lila replied. Then how is it here? Because not everything that is buried stays underground, she said. Some things return when the heart they belong to wakes up again. My trembling fingers finally reached out and lifted the chain. It was cold. Solid. Real. Not a vision. Not a dream. I turned it over slowly, and there it was. The tiny inscription on the back, the one I had carved myself in a moment of love and foolish poetry. Forever begins twice. No one else in the world knew those words existed. A sharp breath escaped me. That was mine, I whispered. I never told anyone about it. Lila's eyes softened in a way that almost broke me apart. You didn't have to, she said. You told her. And she never forgot. The cafe seemed to spin for a moment, the walls bending like reflections on water. Tell me the truth, Lila, I said. No metaphors. No riddles. No in-between worlds. Just truth. She nodded slowly. You deserve that now. She leaned slightly forward, her voice lowering as if the air itself might try to steal her words. There was a moment, she said, right before Emma was taken from this world, where time fractured. Not like a clock breaking. More like a mirror cracking into two realities. I watched her, barely blinking. In one path, Lila continued, she died. The one you were told about. The one you mourned. The one you buried. And the other? I asked. In the other, she lived. But not the way you remember. Not the way you expect. My heart pounded violently. In the other path, she didn't come back to a normal life, Lila said. She was pulled into something deeper. Something ancient. Something connected to the part of you that was never ordinary either. What part of me? I demanded. She held my gaze again with that same impossible familiarity. The part that doesn't belong to this version of the world. Silence crashed into my chest. You were different before you ever met her, Lila said. You just don't remember it in this life. My laughter came out empty and broken. Then make me remember. For a moment, she hesitated. If I do, she said, you won't be able to forget. And you won't be able to go back to the simple life you've built on top of the truth. I don't want it, I whispered. Not if it's built on a lie. She studied my face like someone memorizing the last peaceful moment before a storm. Then slowly, she reached across the table and placed her hand on my chest, right over my heart. The second her skin touched mine, everything shattered. Not outside. Inside. Images exploded in my mind. A different sky. A different name on my tongue. A version of myself standing in the middle of a forest, calling out to the universe not in fear, but in command. Emma beside me, not as my fiancée, but as my equal. As my guardian. As my mirror. We were never meant to be ordinary, Lila's voice echoed inside the vision. We were meant to remember what we once protected. I don't understand. I gasped, gripping the edge of the table as I snapped back to the present. We were not just lovers in another life, she said. We were keepers of a breach between worlds. The cafe flickered for a second, like a weak signal on a screen. You think I'm insane, she whispered. No, I said. I think I'm starting to believe you. A strange relief passed over her face. She chose you for a reason, Lila said. Not just for love. But because you were the only one who could balance what was coming. What is coming? I asked. She turned her head toward the window, toward the river that had never stopped moving. Everything that should not have crossed into this world. A shadow moved on the surface of the water, though no boat passed by. And the necklace? I glanced down at it. It is not just a memory, Lila said. It is a key. A key to what? To the door that she sealed when she chose to die in this world so that something else could remain locked. My throat tightened. You're telling me she chose her death? She chose your life, Lila answered. Silence fell on us again, but this time it wasn't heavy, it was electric. Then she said something that shattered the calm completely. It isn't safe for you to be here with me anymore. What? I looked up sharply. Why? Because now that you know this much, it will feel you. What will feel me? The thing she died to hide from you. A cold, crawling sensation slipped up the back of my neck. As if someone stood behind me. I turned instantly. But no one was there. Only my reflection in the window. And for one horrific second, my reflection smiled. Even though my lips had not moved. Lila's breathing became shallow. It's already too late, she whispered. My reflection slowly raised its hand. And inside the glass. It pressed its palm against mine from the other side.